sure we expected the A-League All-Stars to ever be resurrected. Thought they were consigned to the dustbin of history and a few cut-price jerseys at Rebel Sport. But back they come, according to Don Bossie in the Sydney Morning Herald. Several A-League sources saying that talks are advanced and five-time European champions Barcelona have agreed in principle to play the A-League All-Stars at the 83,000 capacity Accor Stadium in Sydney Olympic Park at the end of the European season. We've seen this back in the day. It was heavily marketed by Fox Sports, but the concept never really caught on. Jason, do you think it has any chance of becoming a tradition again?
I don't think so. Look, a couple of things. First of all, I mean,
it might well become a tradition, I should say. Do you think it has a chance of becoming a popular medium? I
think what we've found in Australia is the theatre goer will attend football games that have great names, great players and great jerseys. And we've seen that in the past, that this is probably a cash cow for the A-League, that they need to earn some money. Crowds have been down and the rest of it. That's what will happen. They will sell 70 to 80,000 tickets to this, and they will make some money on the gate. And that'll help their coffers a little bit, I'm sure. We've seen that before, but maybe they're trying to control it, because remember we had Real Madrid and Man City with over 95,000 people at the MCG, but the crowd were concentrating on paper planes rather than what was happening on the pitch. We've had over 40,000 people turn up to Sydney to watch Liverpool legends play. So like the theatre goers and the jerseys there. So Barcelona, you see a lot of Barcelona tops and hats and whatever around, and they're cashing in clearly.
Yeah, I don't have a problem necessarily with using this as a money spinner when individual A-League clubs are involved. But I think given that it's billed as an all-star game...
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR. I can wave now. Technology's catching up. There's a red light on and I know which camera to direct my attention to. This is Josh Parrish, who's the captain of the ship. He runs all the controls and hardly ever misses a beat or misses a hook turn. If you're a Victorian, you understand what a hook turn is and just how important it is never to get it wrong. See, we've just moved cameras yet again. We've got a sensational special guest. We've got a couple of guests today in this next hour of football, talking about the state of our football nation. Just before we cross to our special guest, who is chomping at the bit because he's achieved, his club and the team that he's been supporting for an awful long time have done something that very few teams do this day. That is, they travel to Adelaide and they come away with the points. But more about him in just a moment. Just got to touch on last week very quickly. I said to you last week in the Liberty Women's League, Melbourne City up against Sydney, who would get up? And you said?
Well, I predicted that Sydney FC would go through and get the home grand final.
Yeah, but how did you feel when City was 2-0 up?
Well, my co-host on our women's football show, Radio Dub, is Pakua Frimpong, and she went a little early celebrating on Twitter that we were going to have a grand final in Melbourne.
I felt, oh, God. Okay, and then we saw Victory play Adelaide and?
Melina Reyes coming back into the team. Clinical finisher she is. Best finisher in the league, as Alex Chidiac told us on Tuesday night, and she proved that.
Okay, so what happens this week?
It's Melbourne Derby on Sunday.
Correct. There's also a Melbourne Derby on Saturday.
Yeah, we've got a double bill.
Oh, wow. This is the one that we were supposed to have a week or so ago, and because of the Asian qualifiers, things had to be moved around. Well, enough of that. Let's catch up with our special guest. About way back in 2012, which seems like about a century ago, a young man was given a chore. He was given a challenge. And they said to him, "Are you up for the challenge?" He not only was up to the challenge, but his club did something quite remarkable. They not only burst onto the scene, gave the A-League the biggest boost it had ever seen. It awakened the beast in Western Sydney, and we saw an army emerge, and we saw a team do something quite extraordinary. Can you take us back, Joshua, just for a little flash or a little memory? Is there anything you got for me?
Well, I remember Ante Kovic's save from that game. That is the defining memory.
Save.
With the laser lights in his face from the crowd in Saudi Arabia, protecting the 1-0 lead from the first leg with literally everything he had, and making one of the most impossible stops I've ever seen. Yep. It seems like the stars aligned for the Wanderers that night. It was surreal, honestly, to watch.
The Western Sydney Wanderers did something that no club in Australia has done since. They were magical. They were brand new. They were a force to be reckoned with. And Ante in goal should not have got anywhere near it. But, as you say, the football gods sometimes play things like that. They gave him and they gave their fans one of the biggest thrills, and Ante should have a statue, which we need to direct out to our special guest. John Tsatsimas is about to call it a day. Mate, welcome to FNR. What a fabulous journey it's been for you and the club and all the incarnations, the various teams that you've put out onto the paddock since 2012. Can you take us back, John, way back to just before you got the phone call? What were you thinking of doing in those days? What were you doing?
Look, I just left the Newcastle Jets not long earlier.
That's right.
And thank you for having me on the show, Josh and George, and much appreciated. A long time ago, and certainly I got a call from Tony Popovich and asked him. He asked me to come and join what he was planning, and that we had nothing at the time, and it's well known that nothing at the time, and certainly the story. And it's been 10 years, but it goes very quickly, and a lot's been done. And it seems a long time, but a lot has been done that hasn't been done in other places in a very short period of time. And I need to say this, and I say this unequivocally, it cannot have been done with a great deal of good people around, players, staff, volunteers, fans, and visions of people who are in the board, and just the people in general from the Western Sydney community and the business community. It could not have been done without all those people, whether they're here or whether they're passed through. That story would not have been the story it was without all those people.
John, you're absolutely right, and we should never forget anyone, and that includes the many volunteers that each and every football club at any tier deserves and needs to make things happen. But I reflect back at that time, and the A-League desperately needed that giant of the West to stand up. I can remember 3 clubs, Marconi, I can remember Sydney Croatia in the old NSL. they were dynamic matches and the big crowds, and they used to create, fantastic energy. And we had been missing it with the introduction of the A-League. And suddenly, it seems to me that dream that, Tony and others started to put together or to form way back in 2012, as you say, a decade ago, the stars aligned. Josh mentioned the stars. The football gods aligned too, and gave you a chance to bring together a bunch of players who had a bit about them. They weren't just journeymen. They were solid players, and some of them had one or two very special moments still to give you. And Ante, does he deserve that statue now on reflection?
Look, Ante, he's a legend of the club, what he did. And you talk with Josh, you referred to earlier about the laser in his eyes in the final. We actually had him in the semi-final and in the quarters as well, one in China and one in Korea. And, the challenge in trying to alleviate those pressures for him as a goalkeeper and the players themselves at that time was certainly without manual, so to speak. And he's still gone out there and did what he did in that particular game, and forever be remembered, and rightly so. And an outstanding performance, as were all those lines that took place in that campaign, even from the outset. So you need to understand as well that at the start of that campaign, we were halfway through. By the time we got to the quarterfinals, we had lost the grand final to the Brisbane Roar, I understand, and we had to get on a plane and go to San Francisco and play a round of 16 match, and it was about a 38-hour trip the very next day. And we got a relatively good result, and at the end of that campaign, a lot of that squad was changed over for the next season because you could do it after that, and our A-League season had finished. So there's another group of players that a lot of them had changed as well. So we need to acknowledge the players that got us to the round of 16 and another group of players that actually got us through to the final and won it. So it was a bigger story than just those people that were in the finals.
You know, when you put it that way, it's like Liverpool or any of the current EPL clubs getting to the final of the semi-finals of the European Championship and then having to change their squad. That'd be unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, the players had opportunities to go elsewhere, or the coach decided to go another way, or whatever the reason may be. But it was a calendar year campaign in a domestic calendar that's actually essentially a financial year campaign. So you need to merge the right and get the chemistry right. And a credit to all involved, and particularly the coach that was able to ascertain what he needed, and those players that pulled through.
John, I want to rewind to 2012 when that first squad was getting put together, and on paper it kind of looked like a team of rejects. I mean, in your role as general manager back then, when did you know that this group was actually capable of something special? And because, it started slowly in a way. I remember you didn't score for the first few weeks. You had this resolute defence, but the team after that just got on this winning run that seemingly wouldn't stop.
We need to understand a lot of those players, upon reflection, a lot of them were contracted players, and a lot of them weren't wanted by their current clubs. So there were discussions and negotiations to get players out, and people I was meeting at my house and whatnot. But the story that really energised us was we only had about 3 months really to get to the pre-season and whatnot. And I remember Papa was still at Crystal Palace, if you might recall at the time, finishing up there. And we couldn't find a ground. We couldn't find the home ground was going to be Parramatta Stadium, but we didn't have the financials on that. And we had no training ground, and we went to the Olympic, the old Blacktown Olympic Park that hosted baseball and whatnot, so that the council here was most accommodating. But at the time, I remember clearly when I knew we were probably going to have a relatively good season was Popper's come over and he's just landed from the airport, and he's come to my house and he showed me this presentation. And like I said, I've said it a couple of times, but I don't think the credit's been given to the coach in terms of that. He's come to my house and he's shown me a presentation he wants to show the players. And the presentation turns the laptop on, and we're in we're in the patio there at the back, and he goes, this is the presentation on it. And on it was points, performance, premiership. And then he pressed the slide, which blew me away. And, you go, right, come on, mate. But, and he had Asian Champions League winners. This is before we picked the ball, right? I can say it. He won't say it, but I can say it.
Wow.
And it's easy for me to say 2 years out that we're going to do that, but I go, all right, no worries. But we only had 6 players on the books at the time.
Gee.
So I said to him, yeah, it's good. Maybe we get 15 of them before you show it. and that was it. And it was only when, and you might remember this, George, we didn't get a significant budget, but we were able to go to on a pre-season trip because of the kindness of your old joint, Melbourne Heart, Scotty Munn. He said, mate, can you come up to Ballina Lismore and we'll play a trial game up there?
That's right. Gee.
And at that time, I had to go to the airport, pick up Yusuf Fursi, who was like a little school kid on a bag in Brisbane Airport. And at the time, we had to stay at a motel. It was one of those old school motels you see in a high school movie out of Richmond High or something like that in 1982, right? And I'm there, and they're lining up, and I'm doing their gas bills and their electricity connections and their visas, and it was like a line up outside. And there's a smoker's chair, and we had no meeting room. So I went up to the owner of the motel. And I said, I need a place where we can meet for the first time because we had to congregate. And he's gone. He goes, I'll give you the kitchen and the restaurant area, and I'll give it to this time and this time. So what we did was we went there. We closed me and Auntie Milicic were closing the blinds and around just to get some
privacy.
Yes, and it's in the middle of the day, right? So and then Popper's done the presentation. So I'm sitting on the side there, and I'm seeing the jugular pop out of his veins, and as he's presenting this thing, and I'm looking at the side of all the players, and not one player moved, right? So he had captured them at that time. They had the belief. We weren't flush with anything. Our surrounds were very primitive. But, with the help of the FFA, I need to say that, and the people around us at the time in that playing group who believed in the vision, it was business from that night. So we got 1-1 draw there against John Aloisi's team, and we go, hey, it's okay. It's not that bad, And then it built from there. And Tony built from a defensive point of view very, very early and built the structure. And once the patterns of play started to emerge, everyone bought in. And while we weren't scoring early on, he had this belief, and the players were resolute in their belief that it would come. And once the momentum kicked in, then we were a juggernaut. You've got to understand too, this was a time when Ange was coaching Melbourne Victory.
Yeah.
Arnie was at the Mariners. They were very, very well-regarded coaches and teams in that time, and we were only 3 or 4 months old.
When you reflect and take us back and give us a sense of the enormity of the challenge ahead, it makes your achievement even more remarkable. I mean, if we made a movie, there'd be people say to me, George, you've laid it on a bit thick, and Johnny, you need to rewrite it because it doesn't stand up. Yeah, look, at the time, that backroom staff was very, very thin. It was Ante Milicic. It was Adam Waterson as the strength and conditioning guy and one or two others. You don't have the cohort that you have now in the A-League. But Popper was well versed, and he had a great lieutenant in Tezza and some people here that just want to be part of the story. You need to understand as well. You talked to George about the old NSL days, which I love, by the way, and I grew up in it and like you watching the Olympic. But there was an Italian team, there was a Greek team, Croatian team, there was everyone, right? Yep. But there's 180 nationalities in this area that all came together for the one team, right? For the one team, and it's unheard of. It was a farmland that was yet to be, yield the product that it can produce. I grew up in the area, so it was personal for me. Popper grew up in there; it was personal for him.
I had a dangerous, I had a severe incident where I cracked my head open, and I've got the scars because I'm a bald guy now and I see it every day when I shave my head. But my parents had to race me into hospital, and they couldn't find it or take me here because Blacktown wouldn't take any juniors, and they had to go to Campbelltown Hospital. So when we talk about community, we talk about the football club, we talk about what it means for the region. It's personal to the people here for a long period of time have been ignored, not only in sporting terms, but in community terms, in infrastructure terms, and economic terms, right? We have 300,000 up until recently, 300,000 people going to work in the city every day, and only 100,000 going to work coming back the other way, right? So they come home late. It challenges the family. They don't see their kids. It challenges on the marriage and relationships or whatever it is. So when we talk about football club, the football club is a vehicle for everything.
Yeah,
it brings everyone together, and while ever we haven't had success in recent times, our community mantra and involvement has been second to none, and that hasn't changed.
When you put it like that, we talk about a summoning. We talk about an awakening. We talk about a gathering of forces, and it seemed to me that it was absolutely a must for Western Sydney to have a team. It was absolutely imperative that they display all the hallmarks of those grand old NSL clubs. In other words, they had to be damn hard to beat. End of story. And they had to be your go-to team. You wore it on your shirt, you wore it on your jacket, you wore it on your hat, and it was your place of letting go all that stress that you speak about. And the Saturday or the Sunday was the place. It was that religion that we speak of, and I can remember it clearly at Panhellenic. I can remember it at Sydney Olympic, and I've been shown just how it was treated in the glory days of South Melbourne and what it meant to be at Middle Park or at Lakeside. It was a religion, and all the communities would come together. But Western Sydney had something else, as you said earlier. They'd been denied any contribution until that moment. Take us back to that first week. Did you have an office?
No. We didn't have an office. We didn't have a training ground at all. And Pop was landing. It was funny because I'd speak to him a myriad of times, once a day. Obviously, it was about 11:30 p.m. at night when I said to him because he was in London. Obviously, and I used to remind him.
Everything was long distance.
Yeah, but that was okay. But, we didn't have an office for 3 months. In the end, we started hiring some staff and with the assistance of the FFA. And so I used to come to training here at Blacktown and pick up 2 bags, catch a train to the FFA till about 7 to 9, 10 o'clock at night. Because don't forget, and the other thing is very important here to note, we were a club, because we're owned by the FFA as well, we were a club that was incumbent upon us to set up a W League team, a National Youth League team, an A-League team in 3 months. And teams that's come in subsequent to us haven't had that obligation. They need to set up themselves and get some traction. We didn't have that, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Because if we were truly a community club, then male and female need to be represented, and the youth need to be have an outlet here. And continuing in that vein, we are in the unique situation that we do not charge our youth. You have seen our youth scattered all over the league, whether they play for the Wanderers or not. We are very proud to see them because they originate from here and have the opportunity here, and we don't charge them to play here, unlike most of them.
John, you talk about those early days where, you really didn't have any resources. Now the Wanderers are the envy of the league with regards to, the academy and the world-class new stadium that you're able to play at. So the obvious thing that's eluded the Wanderers in recent seasons has been that repeating that success on the pitch for the first team. And you've spoken about how important Tony Popovic was in those early days as a kind of inspirational figurehead. Do you feel the same way about Mark Redan, who's just been appointed on a long-term contract?
Yeah, I think Mark, and you've seen the team, and you've seen it as recently as last night. We probably didn't play our best way, but we were resolute. We were gritty, determined, we were committed. Those players were committed. You will see elements, hallmarks, not only of the football club, of the region. It's blue collar. It reflected those early elements of where we were at.
Correct.
And we scraped and fought, and we got to win. Because Adelaide is a hell of a place to go. I've done this for 15 years. Hell of a place to go. Not many times have I come back from Adelaide with a smile on my face, same as at Perth, right, and Wellington. All those trips are hard. But you saw an element there that reflective of the region and of this football club and of its original DNA.
And you also saw last night a young boy from the Western Sydney region. His roots, Nadjarine. His roots are Western Sydney, and he opened the scoring for you.
Yeah, look, Rami's a product of our academy, right?
Yeah.
Rami's a product of our academy, and he went away. Went to Melbourne City. Yeah,
and where he flourished.
And he's come back home. Yeah. His brother's in our academy as well. And a proud moment, and I don't think too much has been made of it. And Keanu Backers, one of the original players in our academy, wore the armband last night. And that is the story that this club is built upon, right? That's what we want to do. You know, win or lose, what are you doing away from the pitch? That brings an element to the we need to win. We won't escape that. That's paramount at the forefront, because we can see the passion that these fans have, and the expectations are very high based on those early years, right? But it's a very proud moment to see one of your own kids wear the armband with pride. And a number of those players are from our academy have graduated to the first team.
It means something more when you put it like that, because to me, I can see the image now of the baton being passed generation to generation. The youngster who's come through the club and is now the captain of the club. It adds. It's a very special and very poignant moment, and it must be for you too, because you've put your hand up and you've said, my time at the club is nigh. You'll finish at the end of the season, and the season is fast approaching an end. We've got some exciting games coming up. Mark Rudan is just starting to get the sort of results you guys have been hoping for, that he might be able to achieve when you appointed him. There are some very interesting, characters at the club. You've got some real characters. You've also discovered some wonderful talent. Do you think there's enough time to make those last adjustments that Mark will do, because we've seen him now on a couple of different occasions, create some really creative teams to play some good football? Have you got enough to get you to the finals?
Look, I think the change was made with that in mind.
Yep.
I mean, it'd be folly for us to give up on a season that we believe, if you talk to anyone, the talent is there in this squad. It has been. It always has been. It's just about being able to wear the pressure as well as the jersey and everything that comes with it. Our club has high expectations. Our fans demand it, and rightly so. So do our corporate partners, and so does the region itself. And I think the change was made to enable us to give Mark the proper running. The challenge is up for him. He's obviously coming in without a proper pre-season, with different style of play, if that's so he chooses. But we have every belief that we're on the right road. We have every belief that we'll be heading into the finals. We're about to embark on an exciting road here, road trip here, and I think there'll be some good times ahead for the Wanderers fans very, very soon.
Well, we're obviously, everyone's hoping that Mark Rudan will be a success there, because, the A-League in many ways needs a successful Western Sydney Wanderers and a passionate fan base following them. But what's the architecture in place for the long term? Because we know the reality of football is coaches come and go. There've been a few coaches that have come through since Tony Popovich in terms of, Gombow and Robinson and others. What's the long-term architecture in place at the club to ensure that no matter who's coaching the team, those values that you talk about are adhered to in terms of bringing through the young players and playing a certain way?
Look, those conversations and the reason that I've made my announcement at the time was to enable the board and those in charge to be able to make that strategy themselves. I think giving Mark the opportunity to plan what he needs to plan with a running will allow the board to assess where that needs to be. I think you'll see more things more evident in a very short period of time. I think it's better for others to comment on that, seeing that I've now made that call, and that's the reason I've done that. But having said that, everything's in place. There are 12 hectares of land here being developed. It is the ultimate play. We've had nothing but torrential rain here for the last month, and those pitches the very next day were playable for our academy youth and women, right? So these are facilities. We don't have to go out hiring, we don't have to go begging, we don't have to calling, we don't have to. Everything is here for every player to perform at their optimum level. Now, it's incumbent on everyone involved in the club, including me as a CEO during that time, to make sure that the best results and everything's in place for that to happen. We've provided everything we can. Now we hope those results follow, and I have no doubt that the great times are ahead for the Wanderers.
That's fantastic stuff. Now, what's left for you?
Look, I'm in a space of now transitioning the next couple of months and ensuring that any loose ends are covered. Scotty Hudson now, who's been with the club for 9 years, he's appointed as general manager and will do a fantastic job here. But he's ably supported by a great group of people here. And, you know, you've got Mark Jensen here, he's the operations manager. You've got Gavin Costello, Natalie Gatt has been with us from the outset in our marketing team, Patrick Bullis, Jeremy Cesar in our media. They all get it, right? So Ian Cook in our academy, and Danny Agartras has been on your show, George, with the membership team and whatnot. And like I said, we're very fortunate that we've got Paul Lederer as the chairman of this club, who has led this vision. Doesn't matter what plans and strategies and that. Things take dollars and cents to put on the table, and him and the board and, thankfully, Jefferson Chee and Glenn Duncan have seen the vision, subscribed to it, and put their money where their mouth is. And, George, you've seen in the game since 1977 and before that, that's the hardest part. It's okay, we can talk vision, we can talk strategy, but to do that in a relatively short period of time and push everything through, credit to them and credit to the chairman.
Fantastic stuff. Listen, it's been a joy to catch up with you. We know you've got a few weeks left. We wish you every success. It's been a remarkable decade. You can have the naysayers and critics saying you haven't had the wins lately, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. There are an awful lot of people who say we're gonna. You went far and beyond that. You delivered. And you delivered from a base that, as I said to Josh, if we had to write a script for Hollywood, they'd knock it back because they'd say no one's going to believe it. You've scaled the heights, my young man. You may have given up a bit more hair than you wanted to, but you know what? That chrome dome is shining even on this screen. We wish you every success for your next adventure, but I think you've left some wonderful people with some very, very solid rocks to work with, and what a tremendous journey still lies ahead for the next captains who are going to pick up the cudgels. And I leave you with that image of your current captain, one of the original youngsters who was brought in, and he's been the full journey with the club. Now, it's
I told him that last night, George. I told him that in the dressing room. I'm very proud.
You know what's
we were
left.
there together.
You know what's left.
And he actually played with my son as a 10-year-old, so I know the kid as a kid. So it's very particular. But George, you remember when we met at Coffs Harbour all those years ago?
God.
In that thing, okay, you remember that, and we were at an embryonic stage, and where we were and where we are. So I thank you for your support. I thank you, Josh, as well, for having us on the show. Thank you for having my colleagues on the show, and I look forward to seeing us down the track at some point.
Fantastic stuff. That was a marvellous time at Coffs Harbour, and they went above and beyond. We got access to everybody, and it was a marvellous time because it was the FFA Cup in its infancy, and the club was giving us an opportunity to see behind the scenes. So it was very special. John Tsatsimas, our special guest on FNR, taking us back through what was a tremendous decade of football, one initially of superb success, an Asian title. No club in Australia has got close. So that's some journey, and congratulations to everybody, the players, the sponsors who were wrapped up early. Can you imagine how excited they would have been?
What a return.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, now the journey is, can we continue? And for Bacchus, young Bacchus, the ultimate journey for him would be to deliver a premiership, as a captain. Oh, wow.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, it would be wonderful. Let's take a break. We've got another special guest coming up. And this time we're going to talk about, football at the grassroots and what it takes and how much work is done behind the scenes. And we'll also talk about some of the other things that have been happening. And, of course, dare I tell you, my team won overnight, but we're playing West Ham on the weekend, so we need to win 2 in a row to start breaking this curse of one up, one back, one up, one back.
George, I also want to ask you what you think of Bruno Fornaroli in a Socceroos jersey.
Oh, okay, we'll talk about that when we come back.
What's coming up?
Go.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
They try to open up the Dutch via another route. Iniesta's in the middle all alone. If Fernando Torres can find him, it's stabbed away uncomfortably to Fabregas. Surely now, Spain have won the World Cup for the first time in history. Andres Iniesta has broken Dutch hearts.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio. You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR. Talk about the football gods, Iniesta. You just channeled him, and what did he do? He launched 4 goals against Victory the other day in the Asian qualifier.
Yeah, he was superb, wasn't he?
Well, for Victory to go overseas, to score 3 goals and lose, ouch. It's a tremendous effort.
I mean, one player's been rewarded out of all of that, though. Nick D'Agostino getting the Socceroos call.
Yes, and quite rightly so. Look, he has always looked to me as the sort of young man you need to promote, you need to support, because what those young players need is confidence at every level. And he's an animal. He's a beast. He's got it in him. So if he can go to the next level, it'd be super exciting. But Iniesta, what a talent. Still, how old is he? 39, 50?
He's ageless, I think.
He's ageless, yes. Look, he's
getting paid about as much money as the entire A-League combined.
Quite possibly. But when they return results like that, excellent stuff. What did you make of it? Did you pull your hair out? You've got enough hair to pull.
It was certainly thrilling end-to-end stuff.
And confronting.
Yes, heartbreaking for sure. But I was going into the game with very low expectations.
Sure.
Victory exceeded them and then gave me hope and then tore it down in the last minute.
That's the worst thing about football. It gives you hope and it just takes it away from you. But, we talk about hope. A little earlier this season, I was at Amy Park. I caught up with a young woman called Kate Kuyateh, and she has 3 daughters who all love the game. They're all super talented. The eldest one, of course, had to break the ice, and she's done all the heavy lifting. And the youngsters that have followed, they're just cruising. They've just picked up on what the older sister went, and they've gone, we can do better, which is what happened with younger sisters. They're super talented. They come from a fabulous family. Kate joins us, and she's, I think it's in Kyneton. Where are you, Kate?
Yeah, we're in Kyneton, down at the Kyneton District Soccer Club.
Fantastic. Via Zoom again, we've got Ron Cole, and who do I see there looking resplendent in her tracky dacks?
Aisha.
Aisha, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Now, I didn't say anything wrong, did I? Your elder sister did all the heavy lifting, and the rest of you just come along and just having fun, right?
Yeah.
Ron, if I can jump in here, you guys have done something tremendous. We should mention that when Kate spoke to me at Amy Park a number of weeks back, and it is quite half a season ago, we got to talking about regional football, grassroots football, and Kate was very quick to tell me you guys had a ground. Only problem was you couldn't play too many games at it because there was a problem with drainage. Is that right, Ron?
Yeah, that's correct, George. Usually we get to about end of June and we get the first winter rains. If we get 20 mils or over, the ground just turns to a mud heap and we're off there. We can't train, we can't play. Our games have to be moved away. So, yeah, it's not really good.
Well, we got you guys on the radio and you gave us a sense that you had a challenge and we wished you well at the time. Kate's rung me again and she's gone, do you know what? Some of those football gods now have found us a way to access some money to help us get the ground playable. Now, give us the update. What's the latest version? Is it the local member has done whatever they could, and has the state government or the federal government come in? Who are the key players that have helped to make a poor decision a very good one?
Well, we went through Macedon Ranges Shire Council and we put in conjunction with them an application to the state government in the World Game Funding stream.
Yep.
To upgrade our ground, and we got the great news about just over a week ago that we were successful with the application. Our local member rang me and gave me the news. So, we've been lucky enough to get $500,000 from the state government through the World Game Funding, and Macedon Ranges Shire Council are putting in $250,000 as well to upgrade our ground.
What has the reaction been from everyone at the club in relation to this news? Because I know you've been waiting for it for a long time.
Oh, look, it's been fantastic. Everybody's over the moon and really excited about it and trying to get through this season so we can get onto a decent ground next year.
I was going to say...
But yeah, there's a real air of expectation about it and everybody's really looking forward to it happening.
Well, Isha, Amy and Caddy, I'm sure will benefit. But the thing is now, this comes about because suddenly we've got a Women's World Cup coming and everyone's now looking to help the game grow at every level. Is that your view too, Ron? Is that why we've been fortunate to get some money?
Yes, it is, George. I mean, we're in the situation here. Football Victoria are looking to have a 50-50 gender split by, I think it's the year 2025. We're currently sitting, last year we had female participation at the club was 42% and 58% male. So we're well on the way to that 50-50 gender split. So our female participation is growing and obviously to have a good playing surface is something that will keep attracting the young girls and the old girls down to play.
What about dressing rooms? Is that the next stage of development and you need more money for that?
Well, that's where this stream of funding we were actually targeting for more female-friendly change rooms.
Yep.
Facilities. But obviously with the sports rorts taking away our money for the ground, about 4 years ago, whatever it is now, we've had to change our tack a little bit. And obviously the ground is one of the most important things. Without a ground, you can't play, obviously, which we know.
Yeah.
So we've had to basically change our tack about where we went. And obviously now that's probably put us about 10 years back on where we were because this funding should have gone towards, or we would have actually applied for female-friendly change rooms. So
I'm just wondering, there is a state election, as we know, coming very soon, around about November, but there's a federal election before then, and we're hearing from both sides. Everyone depends on which side of the fence you're on. It's either pork barrelling or it's doing something meaningful for the community. My view is let's keep talking about it, and we may be able to find a way to get more distribution to those grassroots clubs that really need it. As you say, you were on the cusp and you've lost some money that should have been there. as we know, that area is bustling. How many women are actually, are you turning back, or are you able to accommodate all of them who are asking and wanting to play?
We're a very inclusive club, George. We don't turn anybody away.
Fantastic.
Everybody's welcome down here, and we'll always find them somewhere to play. So it's not a case of if you come down and there's not a team, we'll tell you to go away. No, we take everybody, and like I say, if we have to, we'll create another team so that we can keep people playing the sport.
Kate, if you want to jump in, I just wanted to ask how important the club's been in your life and for your family.
Oh, look, it's been the best thing that we've ever done for our girls. Obviously, with 3 girls, we were looking for a sport for them to play and a club that was going to be inclusive, for them, and it was going to look after our girls and provide them with a safe, welcoming environment for them to play in, which is exactly what we have down here in Kyneton. We've just had two of our younger, our under 8s and our under 10 girls training just now. We've literally just finished that. And the feel of, the girls feeling like they've got their pride in their team, they've got pride in their club. And that's ultimately what we wanted for our kids. And the club's provided that, the fact that it's so welcoming and so inclusive of everybody is fantastic. And like we were saying before, the next step forward for us is to have, those specific female change rooms so that the girls, the kids, the younger girls, the teenage girls especially, and the women have got a secure environment where they can leave all their belongings. They've got dedicated change rooms that are specifically for them. They don't have to worry about sharing with the men or the boys, and having that space for the girls. So we can really, we're doing so well with our female participation. Like Ron said, we're nearly up to 50% females, especially with the younger kids. It's just fantastic, and that's the environment that I want for my girls.
Isha, I can see you looking over Mum's shoulder there. Are you excited about the prospect of a Women's World Cup and games being played in Victoria?
Yes, I'm really excited. I want to go and see all of them, especially the Matildas play.
The young Matildas have been given a fantastic opportunity to participate in international competition. And come August of this year, the young Matildas will be going to overseas to play in a part of the world that not too many people know about. But they've got two squads getting ready. The matches will be played in...
It's Costa Rica, Josh.
It's Costa Rica.
So that's
right.
a fair trek.
It is a long way away. But for me, what's very exciting is we're going to see the next crop, the girls that will be pushing the Matildas, the current Matildas, all the way to the finish line for when, the coaches need to pick the final squad to play in the Women's World Cup. What's the Women's World Cup, the idea of having a Women's World Cup just around the corner, Isha? Is the competition already between you, Amy and Caddy? Or are you just pushing them back and saying, come on, it's my time.
I love watching them play and everything, but I don't know how I'd feel if we were ever on the same team as each other.
Wow.
I think, I don't know. I just don't know how it'd be playing on the same team as my sister, because I'd probably just want to kick a ball at her face most of the time.
Is that the competitive streak? Is that competitive streak? Must be your father. I can't see it. Your mother being like that.
Yeah.
Your mother's all about love and music and harmony. It must be the competition that Dad has. That competitive streak.
Yeah, we're all pretty competitive.
Kate, what did you do when you married that man?
It certainly doesn't come from me. There's not a competitive bone in my body, but
Speak to me about that. And Ron too, give us a sense, what's this news meant to the game in this country, to the game in this state, men and women? How much noise is coming out of this Women's World Cup Down Under being played in Australia and also in New Zealand?
Oh, look, I think it's a fantastic thing for the region. I think it's a fantastic thing for our sport. It's only going to keep the participation levels growing. And and you hear people talking about it all the time. It's going to be fantastic to see, and I can't wait for it to start.
I think it's really important that that as female, sports players, that our girls have got actual role models that they can go and see. This is an amazing opportunity for the younger generation. Like Aisha, she's sort of nearly 16, but for the younger girls who are 10 and 7, it's an amazing opportunity for them to be able to see, sports women at their prime and, be able to go down to Melbourne and watch some games where they're playing people from all around the world and have that inspiration, in our home country. It's pretty amazing.
Well, you're a remarkable multicultural family. This for me, the opportunity for the girls to see international competition in their backyard is something very, very special. Tell me, Isha, who is your fan favourite? Who is your favourite Matilda?
Probably Ellie Carpenter.
All right, okay. The Flash on the right-hand side of the field, who runs like a greyhound. What about Amy and Caddy? Do they have favourites?
Cuddy's, I think, is maybe Mary Fowler.
Ah, yeah, okay.
And then Ummy's is Steph Catley.
Of course. There you go. So the three of you have done pretty well. You've identified three of the brightest sparks in the Matilda camp. Young Mary Fowler is... Kate, what's it like watching someone as beautifully gifted as Mary Fowler play, knowing she comes from, again, Papua New Guinea heritage, and is it Irish?
Yeah, she's got a lot of passport stamps, but I'm pretty sure you nailed on it.
Yeah. Look, it's amazing. I think growing up in a small country town, I think it's something that we lack here in Kyneton is cultural diversity. We're the cultural diversity in Malmesbury. There's not much more than us. And I think for me as a parent, for my girls to be watching the sport that they love, and to see Indigenous players, then you've got, is it Princess Abibi? All these other amazing players who come from a range of different backgrounds, all there representing Australia, doing amazing things for the sport. But I can't ask for more, fabulous role models for my girls.
Well, we've got our producer here tonight, Pakua, who's also host of our women's football show, and I got a big thumbs up in the background when you named those three players. So good taste.
Super taste.
Absolutely. So we all know the most important thing after you watch the Matildas is being able to go out and try and emulate them on the field. So Ish, you must be excited next season to be able to not miss any more training sessions or have to go on those long drives when the games get shifted.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Ron, let me just take this opportunity to say it's been quite some time since we heard the news that you needed some support, and it's great to see that both council and state government have seen fit to support the club and offer you something in the vicinity of, what is it, $750,000 that is likely to come now. And what would you need to get the change rooms now modified or renovated? How much more would you need? We're talking another $250,000?
We're probably looking around about the same, probably somewhere in the vicinity of 500 to 750 to get what we really need. As far as change, female-friendly change rooms, toilet facilities, all the rest of it. Storerooms, all that sort of stuff.
Well, that's the next project.
That's our next project at FNR. We're going to try and get everyone involved to talk as often as we can to not only council, but not only state government, but to the federal government. There are 2 big elections coming up. There must be an opportunity to strike a nerve. Ron, you know what that means. And Kate, once again, thank you for giving us an opportunity and a heads up as to what's been happening, and to hear that Isha, Amy and Caddy are getting excited about a Women's World Cup. Listen, keep it up. Keep us in the loop.
And congratulations.
And once again, congratulations on the amount of money that's coming out. And we would love to get down there and see a game. When's the new season start?
The season kicks off
24th of April.
24th of April, yeah.
Okay. Well,
maybe we'll go next year when it's all done up.
Yeah.
New development.
Well, get ready, Ron. 12 months from now, we're going to have a road trip from Melbourne to Kyneton.
George, if you could get Bridget McKenzie and give her a road trip to Kyneton in June or July, I'd be more than happy to see her.
See what we can do for you. Ron Cole, Kate Kuyateh, and Amy, Isha rather. Amy's nearby always. I can always tell.
She's training at the moment.
Oh, she's training. Well, thank you, Isha. All the very, very best, darling. And once again, thank you to Mum and to Ron. I really appreciate you taking the opportunity to join us and to give us an update on what's been happening in Kyneton, and the good news that the club now has quite some money and an opportunity now to make that ground, which can be unplayable whenever it rains, very much playable, because the new drainage system is going to make a huge difference. Thank you, guys. All the very, very best.
All right, thanks for having us on, George.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Isn't that great?
Nice to have a happy ending to one of these stories.
The
amount of spots we've done about insufficient facilities, all this kind of stuff, that it's just an epidemic, especially here in Victoria with so many clubs struggling to just find space to play. And it's nice to check in with one of the clubs that we've had on a little while ago, and the disappointment that we saw last time out when they missed out on funding, to see it come back around and they've finally got approved.
Look, time and time again, we've seen the AFL in this country play a very strategic game. They do it better than anybody. And I'm still fascinated how the state government can offer up $200 million, $220 million to the AFL to help them renovate their own product called Marvel Stadium. I don't know how that works. But it's
new Brownlow rooms versus a community club who's got a flooded pitch.
Look, if we're talking about Victorians and all Victorians, regional Victoria, everyone's talking about a Commonwealth Games coming. Let's make sure that regional Victoria gets as much support as possible, especially with what's happened with COVID. We've seen more and more families make a decision that to no longer struggle in the heart of the city. They've decided that they want some room, and they're going out to regional Victoria. Well, let's make sure, whichever government is in play, let's make sure that we give them every opportunity, not only to live a life that's well balanced and healthy, but let's make sure they have the infrastructure and facilities needed to make sure that they're competitive days and their days of relaxation are done properly. It'd be fantastic to see another $500,000. I know it sounds a lot of money, but when you think about a community facility that has change rooms and is playable throughout the season, we saw Melbourne City, I mentioned it once before, one of the smart things they did at Bundoora, they put a 24-hour pitch, 24/7 day pitch. They put an artificial pitch down and allowed 32 schools access to that particular facility. Now, that's a remarkable thing to do. I'm just wondering with the decommissioning if that artificial pitch is still available to those schools. I would hope so, because that's something you don't want to lose. Great outcome. I wonder if it's been returned to La Trobe, and La Trobe now makes it available to the schools. That would be ideal. We'd have to check up on that.
Hopefully. We'll have to do our research. But, George, before we go, Socceroos squad?
You asked. This is the question you're going to ask me about young Bruno Fornaroli.
Yes, 34 years young, to be precise.
Look, he's not the first Australian, new Australian, that's been snaffled up and given access to playing elite sport. I can remember, and you wouldn't remember this, but it was a number of years ago, we had a couple of Russians very much in the news, a pole vaulter and a high jumper or a triple jumper. They were so good, and they were given a fast entry into Australia, and they were given a special dispensation to participate in an Olympic Games. So, ask me the question again.
Bruno Fornaroli for the Socceroos.
I don't have a problem. There are all these people out there saying, why don't you play the youngsters? On one level, we need results, Bruno is going to give you something that the youngsters may not be able to give you. Look, the Agostinos and others, yes, they need the opportunities to play, and they would be, buoyed by the chance to don the Socceroos jumper. But I just think one thing that we lack at the moment is that cutting edge. In fact, we've lacked it for a lifetime. We had Viduka, and there were people who complained about Viduka. Because Mark was never allowed to play his proper role. He always had to accommodate the players around him. Could you imagine if we had a team that allowed Viduka to express himself? Oh dear, that would have been quite something. It didn't happen. We've got an opportunity now to give Bruno. Bruno will not let us down. He will play. I can imagine how proud he'd be. Given a half an inch, he might just squeeze a goal or two that will make a difference.
Well, it'll be very interesting if we do make it to the intercontinental playoff and we play Uruguay. Because that's a live possibility at the moment, George.
Yeah,
I don't know. Do you risk Fornaroli in a game like that?
Absolutely.
That could be interesting.
I couldn't think of anything more exciting.
Can
you imagine letting him loose? Listen, I'm currently on the Uruguay wagon because there's a young man who's just joined Spurs called Betancourt. And I'm liking what I'm seeing.
I've always been a fan of Bentancur. He seemed to stall a little bit at Juve, but he maybe needed a fresh start.
Yeah. And what do you make of young Kulusevski?
He's a hell of a player. I've always been a fan of him. I mean, he's this delicate technical player in a big boy's body.
Yeah, he is.
And that's a dangerous combination.
And smarts. I'm seeing him doing things and offering others an opportunity to come into the game and to join the forays going forward. And
Spurs have to be the most unpredictable team in world football at the moment. Win-loss. Actually, maybe it is predictable. It's just if they won last week, they're going to lose this week, and vice versa.
Thanks for that. Well, we're not playing any easy beats. We're playing West Ham. Is the game away or at Tottenham? That's the big question mark. Not that it'll make any difference because, again, as Josh mentioned, it's been 1 week win, and it doesn't matter who we play. We've beaten the champions twice this year. We're the only team that have beaten Manchester City
We've got
twice.
the best record against Manchester City.
There you go. And yet we lost to Burnley.
Yeah, the game's you did lose to Burnley, and the game is at White Hart Lane. So,
there you go.
Back to the Socceroos. Other big talking points. Denny Genro gets the call up this time.
I think Genro is just a marvellous young player who's really finding his feet in Europe. And look, I've liked him from the first day he ran onto the pitch playing for City. Even in the youth team, I thought what he was doing, along with the likes of Najareen and others, they were. You could see Azani, and they seem to have that lovely elegance. It's called football elan. They play with a life force that's very different. Then it's not heads down, the ball's there. They would look up and make their way around the ground. That's when you see that in a footballer. It's always exciting.
Nathaniel Atkinson got a call up as well, which is big. No such luck for his teammate, Cammy Devlin, who's done his hamstring at an inopportune time. Otherwise, he might have been in the frame.
Well, in sport and in life, opportunities avail themselves. You've just got to be in a position to take advantage. And I say to every young player, don't be intimidated by the opportunity. Embrace it. This is what it's about. This is what you train for. This is what you dream about. Allow the nerves to go right through you, but don't let them scare you. Don't let them paralyse you. We saw a young kid called Cam Smith. He only won about $5 million playing golf the other day. And the shots that he played, he had to play to get him into that final green to strike and win by a shot. You have to be brave. If he had wanted to lay up, there's no glory. They say no guts, no glory. You've got to have the courage of your convictions. You've got to have the courage of your talent. You've got to have, deep down, a desire and a will to win. And I've said it to you guys from day one. Remember when we were talking broadcasting? Don't be afraid. You know the sport. You know the people we're talking about. Just have fun. And don't do what some journalists want to do, and that is play politics. Just if you do your craft, if you do your business, if you do your career justice, you'll always benefit, and the viewer and your listener will also benefit out of it, because they'll learn something, and it's not about being at the centre. It's about just doing the job, and if you do it well, you'll be rewarded many, many times over.
Well, the Socceroos playing against Japan, it's a big one.
I've got an invitation to go, and the problem is I'd love to go, but I don't want to jinx the boys. I think we get better results when I'm not there. The only time, and this stems from that horror moment when something happened at the MCG and we were playing that team, and that serial pest ran onto the ground. And from that day on, I've always felt if I hadn't have gone, things may have been different.
Maybe if you'd been working security, things would be different.
I don't look again. Ask the question: how in heaven's name did he get in there? Did he use an AFL pass?
Perhaps, but
eh? Oh dear.
Well,
skullduggery.
Yes, this one personally, I have no issue with Bruno playing for the Socceroos. I think we have a striker shortage at the moment.
Yep.
With Taggart out of action and Jamie McLaren's going to miss the Saudi Arabia game. Nikita Rukavitzia couldn't get into the country. So the options were thin on the ground, and Fornaroli offers something that most of our forwards don't, which is the ability to receive the ball to feet,
correct,
and hold it up and play in a teammate. And even at 34, even when he's not the best Bruno that we've seen in the A-League.
That's true.
After he, I think, broke his ankle at City, I don't think he's quite been the same player, but he's still very effective. He's still been carrying a Perth Glory team that has honestly been quite poor this year. No sign of Daniel Sturridge, so the responsibility's fallen to him. So I have no real problem with Fornaroli playing a role in this qualifier. We've got plenty of Socceroos in the squad who'd barely even been to Australia before they were selected.
Correct.
But just because they're not naturalised foreign citizens. I mean, Bruno Fornaroli spent more time in the country than Fran Karacic or Martin Boyle. So.
Have you ever listened to Harry Suter speak?
Yeah, it's exactly.
A great Australian accent, he is not.
And we've always had migrants in our national team.
Of course we have.
Look, think of the 74 team.
We're a nation of migrants.
They're barely a skip accent among them, the boys that went with Raleigh to the World Cup. So, that's not quite true.
Ojakov. Yeah, great player.
No, Noddy Alston still speaks with an English accent.
He does, and I wouldn't change.
No, you wouldn't.
No.
And I think that's a simplistic view. The real thing is how we get to this situation in the first place.
Yep.
And
he won't let us down.
And even if we do have, an elite striker up front, does it change the equation? Yes and no. I think the Socceroos' biggest problem in recent games has been a failure to not only create scoring chances, but also control the pace of the game and keep possession when they needed to. And I think that was the clearest obstacle in Oman in the last 10 minutes, where we brought off Aaron Moy and we could
lost
not keep the ball.
That's right. Look, bossing the game, there's a reason why it's called bossing the game. And the minute you lose that, then you're open to everything that comes with it. Speaking of bossing the games, who's going to boss the preliminary final, and who's going to boss the derby on Saturday night at Amy? And the stakes are huge.
Yes. Well, Victory making the trip back from Japan, I think, hands the advantage to City. Not sure if the players that have been called up, like McLaren and Leckie, will play a part or not. Haven't looked into that. So that could change the equation slightly. But as for the dub, the A-League Women's, myself and Pakua differed again in our predictions this week. Pakua thinks City's going to do it, but
I love that woman.
I think Victory.
I'm loving that woman. I worry about her EPL stats, but she has a really good side. She's an Arsenal woman, and she's got a pretty exciting team.
Actually, no, I remember now. She actually abstained from giving a prediction, but I can tell she thinks City's going to win, just via ESP. And I think Victory just riding a wave at the moment. There's some good vibes in that team. I think sometimes you just hit upon a good dynamic. Melina Ayres coming in at the perfect time might be the difference maker again.
All right. Okay, so you've gone for victory and victory. Is that how you've gone?
I think City might get the job done in the men's.
Ooh, okay.
I think it might be a split.
Okay. All right. Well, it was a split last time, so the stakes are really up. Very interesting. I'm going to go, as I normally do, with a bold call. I'm going to go City and City.
I'm shocked.
Aren't you shocked?
They won't let him into the chairman's otherwise. All right, that's all from us here at State of Our Football Nation. We'll catch you again next week. But don't miss the Lions Den back. Preston Lions back in the studio tonight, 8 o'clock. We've got both head coaches coming in, Louis Etsevsky from the men's team and Dan Fodden of the women's. Their season kicks off this weekend, so stay tuned for that.
Imagine the Lions at FNR. You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR.